Ladies and gentlemen, the podcast is back. I know. It's been long awaited. I had a total of 0 people ask me about where it went, why it wasn't happening anymore. And yet here we are in 2022 and the Josh Nichols podcast is back in full motion. I'm Josh Nichols. This is the Josh Nichols podcast. And I'm fully aware of how many remarkable podcasts there are in this world. So the fact that you're taking time out of your busy schedule to sit and listen to what I have to say means the world to me. I want you to know that before we go any deeper into this episode. All these podcasts are going to be accompanied by concept videos or vice versa, where those videos are just condensed versions of these episodes and more of a storytelling element than what these podcast episodes will be. But all of these topics that these are built around are questions and things that I've wrestled with over the past couple of years. And I finally feel like I'm in a place where I can offer a valid answer based off of what I have learned, based off of what I have personally walked through. So it's not just me talking out of my butt here. It's things that I have learned from experience. All that being said, you can go to my YouTube channel and check out these videos at www.youtube.com/jnichols194. Let me know when you're watching those videos or when you're listening to this podcast. Share it on your social media. My Instagram handle is @jnichols194. I would love to see how these affect you, how you agree or disagree, or how you can resonate with what I'm saying and what I've walked through. I think all those things bring us closer together as humans when we can just share common problems and common victory together when we overcome these obstacles. Which brings us to our first podcast episode in this series, our first video that's on YouTube now. Purpose. What is purpose? Why can't I find purpose? And why are there some days where I feel like I have all the purpose in the world? Why is it such a fleeting thing? What does it mean? Is it significant? What is purpose? And there's going to be 2 schools of thought that we look at in this episode. One being strictly scientific, which is always good to have in your back pocket. Have some kind of science backing you in your opinion. The other is relational, which is also probably scientifically proven, but this is more of what I've walked through. And so diving into the scientific part of purpose and why we feel like we lack purpose, I'm going to cite my source. It's one website. I think they did a great job of pointing out in bullet points all the areas that would create tension or fertile ground for lack of purpose or doubt or whatever goes with that. The first one being confusion and lack of direction. Now, I identify with this strongly because I left a steady worship leading job. I had been in the church ministry side of things for 7 years at that point, being paid staff, and it was a beautiful thing to be a part of. I loved every minute of it, but stepping away from that and knowing that I wasn't stepping into a role that was in that field again, that was pretty scary. And I had to ask the question over and over again, well, if I'm not doing church ministry and whatever you stepped out of, maybe you were a teacher that you were stepping out and to do something that you're passionate about in the arts or whatever it is that you stepped away from, you come to that point where you start wondering, well, that thing, I grew up with people telling me that was significant or that was purpose-driven. That made a difference. And then you almost come to a place where you start feeling selfish for stepping away from the thing that people have told you and that you've told yourself is so purposeful into something that is just a fling because it's a passion of yours. We just kind of give it a demeaning value because it's a passion of ours, and nobody's told us that our passion is something that can be purposeful. And so that's one element that could create us to feel lack of purpose. Another is changing of situations. Again, moving into Nashville, Tennessee from a small town in Alabama. Good grief. I had every question about my purpose in Nashville, Tennessee. Why do they need another singer? Why do they need another storyteller? Why do they need another videographer? Why do they need X, Y, or Z? There's already thousands of them here. What good am I going to do? There can't be a purpose for me in this field because there's already too many people. It's already so saturated. What is Josh Nichols going to contribute to the world of art and music and video in a city like Nashville, Tennessee, where for decades and decades people have been doing the exact same thing that I do on a much better, larger, greater scale? So those are 2 of the 3 that would cause us to potentially feel purposeless. The third one, interpersonal relationships. Now this one hits hard for me, because basically what they're telling us is you are bound to feel purposeless when you give all of your energy and effort to someone else for the sake of being able to reap benefit from them. You put all your eggs in that basket, you give them everything, and then you want to just ride their coattails. You want to benefit from the things that you've given them. And then that comes to whether that's a loving relationship or whether that's a parasitic relationship, and I think that's a conversation for another day. But that is the third thing. So we have confusion and lack of direction, changing situations, and interpersonal relationships. These are three reasons that we might feel purposeless if we evaluate our lives, and we can maybe narrow whatever that purposelessness is down to one of these three categories. Now, what are their solutions? Emotionmatters.com gives us solutions for all these. They say understanding your values and goals in life and exploring ways to align your life with these values to help you feel more fulfilled. Absolutely. I think we have to be goal-oriented. I think we have to be task-driven a lot of the time so that we know what we're shooting for in any field, whether it's art, whether it's teaching, whether it's accounting, whatever it is. We have to have a goal in sight, or else it's just aimless wandering. And we're always going to feel a lack of purpose because there's no end. There's a bunch of means, but no end. The second one is exploring your true unique identity and improving your self-awareness so you feel more connected to your identity. I can't sit on this one enough because I am just in a season right now where I'm not just recognizing my unique, the things that make me unique, but also a lot of the people in my life. I just recognize the giftings that they've been given and how special those giftings are to that individual person, but then also how it benefits everyone around them. So if we're not confident in and comfortable with our uniqueness and knowing that we contribute something very particular that's needed and vital, but it may not be as attractive, or it may not be as sought after as somebody else's unique gifting or abilities, then we're going to feel purposeless because it's a comparison game at that point. That could also probably be another category, is just the game of comparison that we struggle with. I think we've always struggled with it as humanity, but especially now in 2022. Another point they make, supporting you in a journey of self-discovery, where you can explore your needs and desires, your fears, and the obstacles that keep you from reaching your potential. I think, again, that's just self-evaluation. Asking yourself the hard questions, giving yourself the true answers, knowing where you're at, knowing why you respond to things the way that you do, knowing where you're comfortable, where you're not comfortable, knowing why you're out of your comfort zone when you're in certain areas and certain situations, and just coming to a place where you're okay with it. You don't have to be somebody else. You don't have to try and attain what somebody else is going after. You can just be you. Not to say don't get out of your comfort zone ever, but just kind of know your niche. Again, know your uniqueness. That's a strength of yours. It's not a weakness. It's not something that will create you or will turn you into an outcast. It's something that will be used as an asset for a much broader picture. Another, learning to acknowledge and accept what you cannot change and engage your energies. Learning to acknowledge and accept what you cannot change and engage your energies in things which can give you a sense of effectiveness in life. I'm also pretty bad at this one. I have these things in my head. I call them hypotheticals. If you're close to me, I've mentioned these to you before, where I create every possible scenario in my mind of how things could go with any relationship, any situation. 99% of the time, I can't change any of it. 0% of the time, I say zero, maybe 25 to 30% of the time, my crazy hypotheticals are the actual realities. Most of the time, they're literally made up, and I put all my energy. So much anxiety comes from trying to solve these problems that haven't happened yet because I'm so convinced that something I said or did was that bad, or that they're going to take it the wrong way, that I spend all my energy on this. And then I don't have time to pursue purpose at that point because I'm so worried about things that I have no power over changing. The ball's in the other person's court, but I'm still sitting over on this side of the court trying to dribble air basically and getting nowhere with it and wondering why I'm not gaining any ground. Last one, healing past wounds and stepping forward with courage. I think that one's pretty strong. I think we have to be able to let the past be in the past. I think it was at Lion King, it's in the past. It's human nature. We have a really hard time giving up what's in the past and letting it just be. And nothing prevents us from pursuing purpose or future goals, future achievements, like isolating ourselves in a dark place and just harping on the past and wondering what might have been, what could have been, rather than just saying, well, this is what's going to be, or this is what I'm going to try and create. So that's the scientific side of it. That's the way more thought out side of why purposelessness might be a common theme in your life. Now we're going to look at the other side of it, which is the relational side. This is where I've been living. This is the place where I have just sat and watched and experienced so much good from just being aware of where my lack of purpose stems from. And the relational side is how I've found solutions for those moments where I don't feel too purposeful. Now, I just want to highlight a couple of people here, because when I think purpose, I think of the people that I watch YouTube channels or YouTube videos of what they do on a daily basis, what their routines are. I mean, you got like David Goggins, You Can't Hurt Me, like that book. He made me want to wake up at 4 o'clock every morning and eat 800 calories a day and then burn 4,000 calories in the gym. That's inspiring and that feels purposeful. But when I did it, I did not feel an ounce of purpose. I felt insanity. I felt fatigue. But I didn't feel purpose. But you got guys like David Goggins. You got The Rock. If we're going to talk about a purposeful individual and Dwayne The Rock Johnson doesn't pop up in our conversation, I think we've missed the whole point. He, along with people like Mark Wahlberg, Keanu Reeves, Hugh Jackman, like in my mind, I'm just like, these people are purposed. They know what their purpose is. They know what their giftings are, and they're just running in it. And they're making all the difference in the world with that purpose. So I look at them, and then also because I grew up on sitcom television, I look at sitcom television characters who seem so purposed, even when they're talking about like, oh, I don't feel like I'm accomplishing anything here, or my brain goes to The Office when Jim wants to go to the sports company over Dunder Mifflin, and he feels like he's missing out by staying in Scranton. Even in those moments, I'm like, yeah, but Jim, you got like a wife, you got kids, you got all your friends at the office. Like, you're a pretty purposeful person. And he's one of a few. I've got Norm Peterson from Cheers. Norm's like my spirit animal, I feel like. You just walk into a bar, everybody screams your name. You come back with a witty joke every evening after work. He just knows who he is, and he walks in it. He owns it. And then you got Seinfeld, and everyone in Seinfeld. Honestly, everyone in The Office. Probably everyone in Cheers, too. I mean, every character just had a unique awareness of their purpose that made me jealous. So I started asking myself, why do I romanticize so much these real individuals like The Rock, like Hugh Jackman, like David Goggins, and why do I romanticize these imaginary characters that they've created for sitcom television, like Norm Peterson and Jim Halpert and Jerry Seinfeld? Like, what did they have that I don't have? So I started watching these television shows, more so in the television shows than I think the real person illustration, because I've seen some of The Rock's regimen, and I don't know how you make time for people. Same thing with David Goggins. I don't know how you make time for people. I'm sure they do. Just doesn't seem like the main priority from watching from the outside looking in. I could be wrong. I will openly say I might be very wrong. They may be the most relational people on the face of the planet, but perception, from my point of view, it just seems like they've got so much going on that it's really hard for them to prioritize people. That being said, if we look at the sitcom illustrations, though, every single one of those people is a part of a deep, tight-knit community where they show up every day. Every single day they show up, same people, same place, same common goal. Whether it's in the Cheers bar where they're all there to drink a good beer and have good conversation, or whether it's at Dunder Mifflin where they're there to sell paper and printers for Sabre. Whatever it is, they all have this community. And that's the thing. That's the difference. So my argument is, on the relational side of things, if we don't feel purpose, if it doesn't seem like we have purpose in our day-to-day life, then we have to ask ourselves the question, am I invested in a real community? Now, I'm not talking, like, Nashville is pretty rough when it comes to real community because there's so many different small communities that you can just kind of hop from one to the other. I'm talking about, like, people that you'll sit and cry with, people that you'll tell some deep, dark secrets to, like people that will embrace you and accept you regardless of how you're acting or what you do or don't bring to the table. That's the kind of community I'm talking about. And if we find ourselves lacking purpose, I think it's a really fair thing to ask ourselves, am I part of a community like that? Because what I found is, and I remember talking to a friend of mine, Ryan, if you're watching this, Ryan Lau, mentioned that he was reading a book, and I want to say it's from the Dalai Lama, but it was several Dalai Lama ago, maybe the 80s or 90s. And he's writing about, I may be butchering this, but this is what I walked away from. And I know that this was a given reasoning for him in depression and anxiety in the Western culture. He mentions the fact that in the Eastern culture, every person in their neighborhood, in their community, whatever it is, they're vital. Just like every person in our area is vital, like in our side of the world is vital. The difference is, you know you're vital, because if you don't show up, the rest of your people, like the rest of your community, suffer. Where in America, you don't show up and you can be replaced by 50 other people, 100 other people, 1,000 other people. Right? I think we try so hard to be a part of such large communities that it's easy for us. I mean, all we do is become a face in the crowd. We're not recognized for our uniqueness. We're not celebrated for the things that we bring to the table in a healthy way. There's a mission that one group has, and if you don't fit the mission, then you just get replaced. And nobody loses sleep over it. You might lose sleep over it, but nobody else loses sleep over it. I think of, my brain automatically goes to TikTok, and I promise I'm not like a grumpy old man where I just hate on TikTok all the time. But I feel like so many of us, and I say us because I've played the game, I've run the rat race, like we attempt to gain virality, and in doing so, we may hit it. We may, by some stroke of luck, get 1 million views on a video or whatever is considered viral these days. But literally the next day, maybe the next 5 hours, our viral video is completely washed out by 1,000 other viral videos. Like, I can't tell you, if you've been a part of the internet age where we've watched Vine and we've watched all these platforms start and now reach like the point where they're at now, there's so many names and so many personas that I've watched that hit the limelight for what seemed like seconds and then just disappear. And that's the kind of community that we're used to, is where we go into it while it's beneficial to us, and then we move on to the next one so that we can benefit from it, and then we go on, and we go on, and we go on. And then we wonder why we have no purpose, or why it feels like we don't have any purpose. And it's because we've not invested in community. If we're chasing TikTok fame, we can be effective on TikTok, but I don't care how many followers you have. I don't care how many DMs you get from people that say your video really helped me. That's amazing, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. But what I am saying is I fully believe that you're never going to be more of an impact on a TikTok platform than you will be if you show up day in and day out to the same group of people that live 15, 20 minutes from you and invest in that community. And then those people invest into the community, and then you have this tight-knit, beautiful group of people who will fight for each other. They are on the same team. They are fighting for the same goal, and they want to see each other win. And so even now, we have this whole list of reasons why we might not feel like we have purpose. But the reality is we can ask ourselves a couple of really simple questions to find out if it's really purpose that we're lacking or if it's something else. Maybe it's awareness. Maybe it's acceptance. Maybe it's community. But I think purpose starts finding us when we start asking the really hard questions and then just being really honest with ourselves. Maybe I can't let this thing go. Maybe I am just so convinced that I don't bring anything to the table, and I just can't accept the fact that I might have something unique to offer to a group of people. I can't stand people getting in my business and holding me accountable to anything. And so I would rather just be able to move to whatever clique of friends I want to whenever I want to and just let it be convenient like it's always been. That's fine. Convenience is fine. But purpose isn't convenient. Nothing good and worthwhile in life is convenient. And so as we enter into this new year, 2022, my wish for you is that you would make it a year of purpose. But you can also scratch that word out and put underneath that, make this a year, make 2022 a year of purpose, yes. Make it a year of community. Make it a year of acceptance. Make it a year of whatever it is that you're asking yourself or coming to the conclusion that this is really the reason that I don't feel purpose these days. Just make it your year. And I'm not here to be like a motivational coach. I'm just here to tell you there's no reason for us to wrestle with purpose when we look around us and see people that need what we have to offer in the same way that we need what they have to offer. But for the sake of convenience or comfort or whatever it is, we just stay and we dwell in our lack of purpose. So, I don't know. Like I said, I feel like I finally have a place where I can come and say these things because I've lived it. I'm not preaching to anybody. I'm literally preaching to myself, if anything, because I've had to have these conversations with myself so that I could dig myself out of the rut that I created and start to just be honest. Again, I'm so thankful that you would listen to this. If you made it all the way to the end, thank you even more so, because that's impressive, and I know that this turns into a rambling session after a while, but I really want this podcast to be beneficial. I really want the stories that I tell to help people. I really want the videos that I create to be, yes, excellent, but also to be able to translate my passion and just the reality of things as I see it onto a screen for you to be able to watch. Again, if you want to see those videos, they go hand in hand with these podcast episodes. Go to youtube.com/jnichols194. and you can watch it. And I would also love if you would just share these on social media. Again, my Instagram handle is @jnichols194. Share that you're listening to the podcast. Share that you're watching the video. DM me. Let me know what stands out to you. Let me know what helps you, or maybe what wasn't so beneficial, or what you agree or disagree with, because I'm still learning. I don't claim to have anything figured out. I want to be teachable. I also want to share what knowledge I do have and what experience I do have so that maybe you don't have to walk through the same amount of time that I walked through before I figured something out. I don't know. But what I do know is that I'm thankful for you. What I also know is that you are an important part of this world. It's a better place because you're in it. And so I'm thankful that I get to walk alongside of you in this journey. Not just finding purpose, but just learning what being human is, and figuring out how to walk with as much grace and understanding as possible. Thank you again for listening. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Until next time.